Okay, guys, so green on the left, notes on the right. All right, so solving your percentage problems, kind of like we did yesterday. They're a little more challenging than what you have seen in the elementary school level. All right, and I showed you guys how to use a proportion or use that kind of strategy. Well, part of Common Core is showing you more than one way to be able to solve a problem. Okay, well, this way is the method by using a percent equation. All right, so we're going to talk about how to use a percent equation properly. All right, so I do want to point this out before we get started. This is the objective. This is the skill that you're practicing. So meaning that if you go to do your homework, you're going to need to use this. Okay, be careful. Don't use a proportion. That will be wrong. Okay, the whole point of homework is practice. And practice, we're going to practice this skill right here. Okay, so when you get to the test, if it doesn't tell you which method to use, you can use whichever method you'd like, whatever you feel you're more successful with. Feel free. That's why I'm teaching you more than one. But there could be some questions, some problems on quizzes and tests that will specifically tell you to use a certain method. Okay, so you have to still be good at both. All right? All right, so percent equation. Here we go. Percent equation, everyone? Percent equation. All right, so your book says this is an equation, the equation form of the percent proportion, where the percent is written as a decimal. Now, that's actually pretty important. That last part, we'll talk about this. A lot of students find that they like percent proportion in some ways, but they actually prefer percent equation in other ways. So it's kind of give and take. Pros and cons about each method, okay? But this is very important. This is a lot of people's, this is kind of what people don't like about the percent equation, because there's a little extra twist that you have to remember. All right, so we'll get into that. So here's what I want you to write down. So the percent equation is exactly this. Part equals percent times the whole. Part equals percent times the whole. Now, also after you get done writing that, like in what I can call expanded form, meaning all the words written out like this, here's what I'm going to write down. P is equal to a percent sign times W. All right, you're going to see me use that a lot. And all that is part equals percent times the whole. That's the kind of equation we'll use. It's almost like a formula where we'll plug numbers in and then solve it. All right, so if you haven't gotten your book out, go ahead and grab your book. All right, and let's try some of the problems using this skill. All right, so go ahead and take your book, flip over to page 264. 264. Okay, here we go. On page 264, let's take a look at problem 5. The directions say solve each problem using a percent equation. All right, so here we go. Now, before we get started, I do want to say this. All right, if you remember right, in yesterday's lesson, all right, a percent proportion is part over the whole, and you don't have to write this down, but it's part over a whole equals percent over 100, right? And if you remember right, the other way to write it down was using those keywords is over of equals percent over 100. Those were two that I gave you, this being the best one because that is the definition of a percent proportion. But here's the reason why I'm pointing this out. Part, its key word to sometimes help identify is the word is. The whole is a lot of times identified by the word of. So I just want to remind you guys of that. All right, I don't know if we directly talked about that yesterday. Maybe we did, but I wanted to remind you. All right, now, with that said, if we take a look at problem number 5, it says 55 is 20% of what number? So here's what we're going to do. Step 1, write your percent equation. Part equals percent times the whole. Part equals percent times the whole. Now, what I do notice is, first of all, I'm going to put in step 2. Please have a seat. We're in the middle of a lesson. I'd like everyone to be able to focus. Thank you. Okay, step 2 is, what I'd like to do is I'm sitting here looking, it says 55 is 20% of what number? Okay, and I'm going to start plugging numbers in. Okay, I want you to put a little star by step 2 though, because there is the little special twist to this. So first off, if you take a look, 55 is by the word is, right? We talked about this yesterday, and we know that 55, when it's written out in a phrase like that, 55 is the part. That's where I'm putting 55, is under the P for part. Now, the equal sign comes down. Now I take a look, and 55 is 20% of what number? So it's 20%. This is why there's a star. Because like our definition said, when we plug in our percent, you plug it in decimal form. 0.2 or 0.20. Anytime you use the equation form, the percent is always in decimal form. I'm sorry, anytime you use a percent equation, the decimals, it's always expressed as a decimal, meaning the percent. Okay? So, the whole is actually what we're figuring out. So, that means step 3, you can call step 3, right? Simplify or solve. And what that means is if both of them are on one side, we just simplify the side, right? But in this case, this is an equation. A number's next to the variable here, so we have to solve it. So we have to get W by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and isolate it, meaning get it by itself, which is I have to do the opposite operation, the inverse. So in this case, 0.2 times W, I do the inverse, which is divide by 2/10. And then when you're solving any one-step equation, whatever you do to the one side of the equal sign, we do to the other. And so we end up with W equals, and now this obviously is a nice time for the calculator. So 55 divided by 2/10 is 275. Okay, so a lot of people enjoy this over percent proportion because in some ways there's less. They feel like it might be less to write, but then other people like percent proportion more because they don't have to worry about converting the percent to a decimal. And remember we were talking about the precision that we're not careful with. You've got to be precise. You plug in 20 right there, you're going to get the wrong answer. Okay, so you have to make sure that you plug in the decimal form of that percent if you're going to use an equation today. Okay, I'm going to have you guys try one. Any questions before I have you guys try one?
Do we need to write P equals percent times whole on every single problem?
Yes, and here's the reason. Because we're going to get into other things like sales tax. And it's going to slowly get more challenging, and you're going to need to keep your work organized. And right now, a lot of us struggle with that. So, yep, and we're going to start changing the P's to different variables depending on what we're solving, and it's a way for us to keep track of our work. Great question, but yes. All right, it'll take you an extra, about 3 seconds per problem. I'm so sorry, guys, give you those extra 3 seconds per problem. Maybe an extra 30 seconds in your homework total. So, sorry about that, yes. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll check in with you guys about 30 seconds. Might take you a little longer, but 30 seconds. Go ahead and try problem number 16 on your homework. All right, go. Guys, I want to thank those of you that know our routines. We're almost halfway through the year, and I've already had 2 people just kind of do their own thing and not interrupt our flow of our class. Okay, a lot of you guys are doing the right thing. Please keep it up. Okay, we definitely have routines for a reason. Okay, if you didn't follow your routine, we'll make up for that in just a bit. All right, but for right now, if you didn't check out a calculator, for example, you're going to need to struggle during this part right here. Okay, that's why we have to make sure we do it at the start of class. We all should know that by now. Okay, with that said, anyone still working on that problem? Okay, about 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds. Turn to your neighbor and share. Go. Okay, here we go. Problem number 16. So I'm going to go ahead, follow the same steps. So part equals percent times the whole. I'm plugging in my numbers. Well, in this case, the way that this one is set up, because problem number 16, right? Same directions, and it says 27 is 10% of what number? 27 is the is, meaning it's the part. That's where I'm putting it, just like the last problem we did together. All I need to make sure for step 2, right, is when I plug in my percent, it's as in decimal form. So 0.10 or 0.1. And then, of course, the whole is what we're figuring out. So in this case, it's another equation. I'm going to go ahead and divide this side by 1/10 and this side by 1/10. And that cancels. This is pretty easy. Just need to be careful on the decimal placement. 27 divided by 0.1 equals 270. All right. Questions on that type of problem? Okay. Let's take a look at 264. And let's check out problem 21. All right, so 21. It's the same steps. I'm going to add in a step during this. It's not so much an exact step, but we'll talk about this here. So here we go. It says 33.8 is what percent of 130? So here we go. So I write it down. Part equals percent times the whole. Okay, the is stated. It's 33.8. We just been over that a couple times, right? The is the part. So 33.8 equals. Now comes the whole. And the whole, because it says of 130, they actually give us the whole in this case, which is 130. For percent, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring down an X. And the reason I don't make it into a P because I don't want to confuse myself with part. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and 130 times x, right? I'm going to divide by 130 and from both sides, just like we did before. So we have x is equal to, so well, here's what we've got now. 33.8 divided by 130 equals 0.26. Ladies and gentlemen, what does x represent? It's the percent. Now, this is why I'm doing this problem with you guys. We'll call this step star. This is a little reminder step you have to be careful of. Okay? If you are finding out the percent, remember when the percent is in the percent equation, it's always going to be in decimal form. What we're doing right now is we need to take it out of the equation as a final answer, so we need to actually convert it from decimal form back into percent form. So what that means is move the decimal 2 times back to the right. And what we have is 26%. So remember, if you're finding the percent, don't forget to convert it back to percent form. Because when you solve it out of the equation, it's always going to give it to you in decimal form. Okay, questions about that? So same kind of thing, but you just have to watch out for that. All right, you ready to try one? Here we go. Problem 22, very next problem. Go. All right, how many of you need more time? Okay. How many of you guys need more time? Okay, 30 seconds. Go and turn to your neighbor and share. Go.
Okay, I messed up.
70%.
All right, here we go. Problem 22, I'll loop it around here. All right. Your problem 22 says 79.8 is what percent of 114? So part equals percent times a whole. In this case, right, is the part set up just like our last one, our last three of them, right? 79.8. The of is 114, so that is our W. That's our whole 114. And that is equal to, well, again, I'll just leave that as an X. So as long as I know X is our percent. So here we go. Divide, to get rid of 114, I divide that by 114. Have to be fair. Do the same thing to the other side. That cancels. X equals, and I'm already thinking in my mind, right, just prepared where I don't forget. As soon as I solve this, it's going to be the decimal form of the percent. So here we go. 79.8 divided by 114 equals 0.7. I'm hoping that no one put 7% because you have to move it twice, right? This is 70%. All right, questions on that one? Yes, ma'am.
So if we do percent proportion, would we still get the same answer as the equation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously don't do it, but yes, if I did that exact problem with using a percent proportion, yeah, it's just a different way of doing it. Okay, percent equation is a different way of doing it. Okay, guys, other questions? All right, here we go. Let's take a look at problem number 8. Problem number 8. Let's go ahead and close read this. Here we go. Okay, so I have a couple of things to share with you guys. I'm kind of wondering if I should share it now or if we should read the problem first. Maybe let me share it now. Okay, here's a couple little side things that you'll need to know to be able to be successful at this problem. Okay, first of all, a majority of the time, your original or the total cost, I shouldn't say total, your original cost, like the price tag of an item, is going to be your whole almost every single time on a percentage problem. Okay? So your original cost on the price tag is going to, that is what that is. That's what a whole represents in a buying something and buying an item kind of problem. Okay? But here's the other thing I want to make. So these are just two little notes. Here's another thing I want to talk about. Okay? And I'm not sure why the book is set up like this. We haven't talked about sales tax yet. Okay? However, they throw a sales tax problem in here. Okay? So I'm going to give you pretty much what you need to know. And that is, if something costs you $10, but you have to pay sales tax when you go and buy something, and let's just say the sales tax is $1. How much would you have to pay for that item? $11. Okay, $11, right? So what would you have to do with those two? Yeah, you add them. So like if the price tag was $10 and you go up and they charge you, they're gonna charge you some money for sales tax. Okay, I'm not talking about a specific percentage right now. I will in a second, but I'm just kind of rounding it, making it easy on you. But that you have to pay for the item and the sales tax. Okay, and then when you do that, of course, to leave that store, you're paying basically $11 for the item you're buying. Okay, now let me explain this. This is the original cost of the item. I want to say this is the whole, and we know now a whole is 100%. Now, in this particular problem, I'm going to give this to you. The tax was 10%. You're paying 10% sales tax. Not that that's real, but I'm just making it nice and easy on you. Okay? When you pay for this shirt, what is the percentage of that original cost that you're really paying? It's a little weird to think about it this way, but 110% of the price tag. Because you're paying 100%. Oops, I put dollars. Sorry. You're paying the 100% for the shirt, all of it, and you're paying an extra 10% in sales tax. So 110%. You see that? So if I gave you that and said, guys, you paid 10% sales tax for this shirt. Or better yet, I said, guys, you bought a shirt for 110% of its original price. What was the percent of sales tax? It would be 10. And you would do that by subtracting the 100% from it and say, oh, because the shirt's 100% of the original price, so the sales tax, you had to pay 10% of the sales tax. Okay? I know a little weird, and I really wish I didn't have to show you that before we actually talked about sales tax, but this is just the basics, all right, to be able to do this next problem. So talking about the next problem, let's go ahead and now let's close read it. Here we go. Martin wants to buy a scooter. The motor scooter is $4,968, okay? That is the cost. That's the original price. Here we go. No, I'll never have you guys read the first one. Here we go. If the total, including tax, is $5,290.92, what is the percent of sales tax? Okay. So here's how you were going to solve this. Part equals percent times the whole. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and to solve this, I'm going to go ahead and put in for the whole the original cost of the scooter. And if I reread that, it says the cost of the scooter is $4,968. That goes in for the whole because that's the original cost of the scooter. Now, here's the weird thing, and that is the part, because we always think of part being smaller than the whole, but not when you have something over 100%. The part is going to be the price along with the tax. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in $5,290 and 92 cents. I'm really glad we have a calculator for this. Now, the percentage is what we have to figure out. That's our X. Okay? So what we've done is we've done step 1, we've done step 2. All right? Now comes step 3. This is being multiplied with X, so we divide by 4,968, and I'm going to do that to both sides. So when this cancels, I get X equals whatever this is. So 5,290 and 92 cents divided by 4,968 equals 1.065. Now remember this step star up here. That's the decimal form. I'm going to move it over.
Can't see it.
This is the decimal form. Because of step star, I'm going to move it over 2 times to the right. And here's what I have. 106.5%. You say, well, wait, what?
Wait, so 6.5%.
So,
Yeah, 6.
remember, this is the price of, this is the percentage of the scooter and the tax. So what we're going to do is I'll have another little step star here on something like this. You take the 106.5. Now, yes, I do understand a lot of you guys could do this in your head, but I'd like you to write it down just where, once you get home, if you forget, you might remember by looking at it. We're going to subtract the 100% of the price of the shirt. And what we're left with is the sales tax percentage.
So do we put 6.5% equals X?
If you put equals X, I don't, actually, not really, because X is actually 106.5, right? So on this kind of problem, if you put that, it wouldn't be accurate. But sales tax is 6.5%. Okay, guys, question. I'm going to give you one to try. Any questions? All right, here we go. Problem 18. Problem 18. Give it a try. Go. Okay, how many of you need more time on that problem? Okay, 30 seconds. Turn to your neighbor and share. Go. All right, what did a majority of us get? 5.5%. All right, well done. All right, here's what I want you guys to really quickly take a look at. First of all, I want to make sure you will have a problem that talks about commission. Does anyone know what commission is? Okay, commission is basically just a quick rundown of what commission is. When sometimes you'll hear of car salesmen, not all car salesmen, but a lot of car salesmen will they will get a commission, and what that means is they get paid like an hourly wage, all right, however much they make per hour for their job, but they also get paid bonus money based off of how many cars they sell. So it's usually on value of the cars. So they might get an extra 5% bonus off of the car they sell. So for example, if they sell a Tesla, they're probably going to get a bigger bonus than if they sell a Toyota, or Corolla still out. I'm just trying to think of a smaller Toyota model, okay? Because the value of the car is more. So basically the reason is because commission is based off of a percentage. So just remember that. It's the bonus money from whatever is being sold. So what if it talks about commission, that's what that is. Here's what I want you guys to really quickly write down. Take a look at number 25A. You might just want to write this down. Don't forget, there's 3 answers. If you read the problem carefully, it will guide you. There will be 3 answers on your homework, so don't forget. All right, guys, percent equation.